Olivia Parker stood in the drifting Denver snow, her red coat glowing against the white haze as her breath curled into the freezing air. At her feet, Luna, the brown and black German shepherd, lay shaking, her breaths faint, her eyes pleading for help as the storm closed in. Beside her, a cluster of newborns with pitch-black fur twitched weakly, their strange, sharp cries echoing unnaturally through the silent winter field. Olivia knelt, her hand trembling as she touched Luna's cold fur. Another eerie squeal rose from the litter, cutting straight through the falling snow. Something inside her stirred, fear, tenderness, and a rising dread, as a shadow shifted between the snow-laden pines behind her. From the tree line, a figure stepped out, slow, deliberate, and far more dangerous than the storm above Denver. Before we begin, tell me where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. Denver in winter was a city carved from ice and quiet resolve. Wind rolled down from the Rockies like a living creature, dragging long fingers of frost across rooftops and glass towers. Streetlights glowed dimly behind curtains of falling snow, turning the world into a blurred watercolor of gold and white. High above the city, along a lonely mountain road lined with pine trees crusted in ice, stood Olivia Parker's glass-walled estate, a modern mansion with warm lights glowing from within, like a lantern trapped in a storm. Olivia, 32 years old, carried the polished elegance of a woman born into wealth, yet shaped by solitude. She was tall, with long dark blonde hair cascading over her shoulders in soft waves, her skin pale from Denver's winter sun, and her features sharp but gentle, high cheekbones, steady gray eyes, and a mouth that rarely smiled except around creatures she trusted. Despite her refined appearance, she held herself with quiet strength, a woman who had learned early that money could not protect the heart from loneliness. Her only constant companion was Luna, a 4-year-old German shepherd with a classic saddle coat, a strong black back, chestnut tan legs, alert amber eyes, and a loyal nature that softened whenever she was near Olivia. Luna had been a gift from Olivia's late mother, and since that loss, the dog had become the emotional anchor of the Parker estate. Luna was intelligent, obedient, and fiercely protective, but tonight she was trembling, pacing the heated wooden floors with increasing urgency. Outside, snow fell in thick, swirling sheets, hissing softly against the glass walls. The storm was deepening. Olivia had spent hours preparing a warm berthing space beside the fireplace. Thick blankets, fresh towels, soft lighting from a golden-shaded lamp that cast a gentle glow across the room. She had read every guide she could find, watched videos, spoken to trainers, but none of those things steadied her hands now. Luna let out a low whimper, her tail tucked, her breathing uneven. She lay down, body tightening with the rhythm of labor. Olivia knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear as she whispered, "It's all right, sweetheart. I'm right here." The first newborn arrived just as lightning flickered faintly over the mountains. Olivia reached for a towel, expecting the small, dark brown bundle typical of a German shepherd pup. Instead, she froze. The creature lying on the towel was black, pitch black, so dark it looked like the snow-lit room couldn't find a surface to reflect from. Its fur absorbed light rather than catching it. The newborn emitted a thin, sharp cry, high and piercing, a sound that didn't belong in the warm cradle of the fireplace glow, but rather in some far, forgotten cavern. Olivia's breath caught. "Luna, what is this?" Luna only nuzzled forward, licking the newborn with all the instinct of a devoted mother. Her movements were calm, trusting, unbothered, but Olivia felt her pulse quicken. A second newborn came, then a third, all identical, blacker than midnight, their bodies twitching in brief, unnatural spasms, their voices rising in eerie, glass-like cries that made the window panes vibrate. Olivia wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her wrist. She lifted one of the newborns into her hands, the towel warm beneath it. Under the golden lamplight, its fur looked almost liquid, like ink swirling beneath its skin. When she brought it closer, the tiny body jerked, once, twice, in a rhythm far sharper than any instinctual tremor of a newborn pup. Olivia shuddered. These movements didn't match anything she had read or witnessed. "Easy," she whispered, mostly to reassure herself. "It's just the cold, or the shock." But deep down, something inside her tightened, a small knot of fear she could not ignore. Luna, meanwhile, continued her gentle task, nudging each newborn closer to her belly, warming them with the heat of her body, her amber eyes soft with maternal certainty. She seemed unaware that anything was strange at all. The contrast unsettled Olivia even more. How could Luna be so calm? Snow continued to batter the windows, but Olivia barely heard it now. All her senses were drawn to the creatures nestled against Luna. 6 of them, each one blacker than the last, each crying in that same piercing note that seemed to slice through the storm itself. The room felt smaller, warmer, too warm. Olivia's throat tightened as she leaned closer to inspect the smallest one. Its tiny paw flexed in the air, fingers, or toes, curling with an odd stiffness. She had the sudden, irrational fear that if she looked away, something about them would change. Something impossible. Lightning flashed again, reflecting across the glass walls. Olivia lifted her head, just in time to notice something that made her entire body go still. Outside the window, the snowfall paused, not slowed, not shifted, paused. For a single breathless second, not a single flake moved, suspended as though the world itself had been told to hold its breath. Then, just as quickly, the snow resumed falling, thick and heavy. Olivia's heart pounded so hard she felt it in her throat. She lifted one newborn slightly higher, its black fur absorbing the firelight like a void. "What are you?" she whispered. Luna whimpered, pressing her head into Olivia's knee. The storm howled louder. Something had shifted in the world the moment these black-furred newborns arrived. Something she did not yet understand. But whatever it was, it had already begun. By morning, the world outside Olivia Parker's estate had transformed into a white desert of cold silence. Overnight, the storm had grown teeth. Snow piled thickly against the glass walls, nearly swallowing the lower windows. Wind howled through the pines like a distant siren, and the entire mountain seemed to groan under the weight of winter. Olivia barely slept. Each time she drifted off, a sharp, unnatural cry from one of the 6 black-furred newborns jerked her awake. Their small bodies twitched with that same eerie rhythm, sharp, staccato pulses that felt too deliberate for simple newborn reflexes. Luna, despite exhaustion, kept them close, licking and nudging with unwavering tenderness. As dawn broke, Olivia made her decision. They needed medical help, answers, guidance, anything other than her spiraling uncertainty. She wrapped herself in her long red fur coat, slipped her feet into insulated boots, and gently gathered Luna and the newborns into a heated carrier. Luna, though tired and sore, obeyed with trust shimmering in her amber eyes. Olivia drove her dark SUV, an all-black luxury model with snow tires, down the mountain road, fighting the storm. Snow battered the windshield like a spray of shattered glass. Several times the tires skidded and her heart lurched, but she forced herself to keep going. Denver's largest veterinary hospital, Aspen Ridge Animal Clinic, sat on a busy corner downtown, though today the street was half empty, swallowed by cold and drifting snow. Inside, warm lights glowed across polished floors. People huddled with pets wrapped in blankets. A curly-haired woman with a trembling dachshund. An older man with a tabby cat peeking fearfully from its carrier, and a young couple whispering over a limping husky. They all glanced up when Olivia entered. She looked like royalty lost in a storm, tall, radiant, wrapped in crimson fur, eyes shadowed with worry. But the attention didn't settle on her for long. It fixed on the carrier she held. The moment one of the black-furred newborns released its sharp, glass-like cry, the room fell silent. The curly-haired woman's brows lifted. The old man clutched his carrier tighter. A teenage boy near the corner muttered, "What was that?" His mother hushed him, though her eyes stayed locked on Olivia with thinly veiled concern. Olivia lowered her gaze, feeling heat rise in her cheeks. She wasn't accustomed to being judged or stared at. Not like this. She sat quietly against the wall, Luna pressing her head against Olivia's leg, as if sensing her fear. It wasn't long before the clinic's head nurse approached. Sarah Whitmore, in her mid-40s, was a tall, slender woman with sandy blonde hair pinned in a tight bun and soft lines around her hazel eyes. Her face had the calm steadiness of someone who had seen both joy and heartbreak in years of veterinary work. "Ms. Parker?" she asked gently. "You called earlier?" Olivia nodded and opened the carrier, slightly. Sarah leaned in, expecting normal shepherd newborns. Instead, she recoiled a fraction of an inch before catching herself. On her face flickered confusion, then professionalism tugged her expression back to neutral. "I'll get Dr. Harris immediately," she said, voice low. "Please follow me." Dr. Leonard Harris was in his early 50s, with a salt and pepper beard trimmed neatly along his strong jawline. His posture was erect, disciplined, shaped by decades of experience and the emotional weight of thousands of cases. His dark eyes had the clarity of a man who rarely panicked, but also the heaviness of someone who once had, long ago, in a case he never spoke about. He prided himself on staying composed for the sake of both pets and their owners. But the moment he lifted the soft blanket from the carrier, that composure cracked. "Good Lord," he whispered. He inspected one newborn closely, its fur so black it drank in the light, its tiny fingers curling in stiff, unnatural spasms. Another emitted that high, crystalline cry, making a nearby metal tray vibrate. Harris exhaled slowly. "They're alive," he said, as though reassuring himself. "Strong, even. But they are not typical shepherd neonates." Olivia swallowed. "What does that mean?" "I don't know yet," he admitted. "I've never seen a coat this black on a shepherd pup, especially not all of them. And those cries—" He didn't finish the sentence. Luna whimpered softly and nudged one newborn closer to Olivia, as if urging her to comfort the little beings. Harris glanced between Luna and Olivia before straightening. "Let me take them to an exam room. I'd like to run some preliminary tests." He didn't get to move the carrier. Suddenly, all 6 newborns released a unified shriek, sharp, metallic, slicing through the clinic like a blade of sound. Every light overhead flickered violently, buzzing in protest. One bulb popped with a tiny spark. Patients yelped. People gasped. And Sarah, frozen in the doorway, whispered, "What? What was that?" Olivia clutched Luna close, heart hammering. The storm outside growled against the windows, but nothing sounded more dangerous than the harmony of cries coming from the tiny black creatures in the carrier. And above them, the ceiling lights continued to flicker, like the clinic itself was afraid. The exam room at Aspen Ridge Animal Clinic, once a simple, clean veterinary space, now looked more like a makeshift research laboratory, erected under pressure and fear. Portable machines had been wheeled in, an X-ray scanner humming with low mechanical breath, a genetic analyzer blinking with cool blue lights, trays lined with sterile pipettes, gloves, and labeled tubes. The snowstorm outside continued hammering the windows, but inside a deeper storm, one of confusion and dawning dread, settled over everyone present. Olivia Parker sat on a rigid plastic chair near the wall, the kind meant for waiting rooms rather than existential revelations. The cold surface seemed to seep through her red coat, chilling her nerves even more. For the first time in years, the poised businesswoman, who negotiated multi-million-dollar real estate deals with unflinching precision, felt small and completely unprepared. Her shaking hands remained clasped tightly in her lap as she watched Luna, her loyal German shepherd, circle anxiously near the heated incubator. Luna let out a low growl whenever anyone approached too quickly, eyes sharp, spine straight, despite exhaustion from the previous night's labor. Her fur, a natural saddle-patterned blend of deep black and warm tan, was puffed out defensively, and her tail remained stiff with protective instinct. Dr. Harris and two specialists stood near the examination table reviewing preliminary scans. The first specialist, Victoria Hale, was a geneticist from the University of Colorado, short, petite, with dark corkscrew curls pinned back, round glasses sliding constantly down her narrow nose. Her sharp brown eyes carried the intensity of someone whose curiosity often overshadowed fear. She was known for her brilliance, but also for her bluntness. Academia had chiseled away any instinct to sugarcoat. The second specialist, Dr. Raymond Holt, was the opposite in nearly every way. Tall, with broad shoulders and a graying beard that framed his square jaw. His skin was weathered from field research, his expression perpetually stern. He rarely spoke unless the words mattered. Years ago, a catastrophic lab accident had taken the life of a colleague, and since then his cautious nature bordered on paranoia when faced with biological anomalies. Victoria's voice trembled despite her analytical pride. These initial images, they don't match canine developmental patterns. She tapped the screen, her fingernail clicking softly against glass. Look at the curvature here. Harris leaned closer, his brows knitting. The spine is shorter, almost compressed. On the monitor, the X-ray images of the black-furred newborns glowed in eerie monochrome. Their skeletal structures were unmistakably wrong. Vertebrae spaced too closely, legs bending at angles that defied normal biomechanics, rib cages narrow as though evolution had taken a wrong turn. Holt crossed his arms, the fabric of his flannel shirt tightening across his shoulders. The skull shape, too, he muttered. Canine neonates have defined cranial plates. These are... He hesitated, searching for accuracy rather than drama. These are shaped more like something undeveloped, or intentionally different. The room fell silent except for the faint electronic hum of the machines. Olivia stared at the images, her breath shallow. This couldn't be real. Her puppies, Luna's puppies, weren't supposed to look like this. They were supposed to be tiny, soft versions of their mother, blinking helplessly at the world. Instead, they looked like shadows wearing the shape of something almost, but not quite, dog. Across the room, Luna pressed her nose to the incubator glass, whimpering softly, licking the surface as though trying to comfort her strange offspring. Her devotion remained pure, unshaken by any scientific oddities. Something inside Olivia twisted painfully at that sight. Her world, normally built on logic and elegant structure, now felt split between two forces: the cold reasoning of the specialists and the warm, instinctive love radiating from Luna. Victoria pulled up the genetic analysis on another monitor. "We extracted a small sample from one of the pups, just to run baseline sequencing," she explained. "It's early, but the preliminary readouts—" Her words trailed off, a rarity for a woman known for filling silence with theories. Holt stepped forward to look. Dr. Harris, trying to stay steady for Olivia's sake, took the printed sheet from the nearby tray. Lines of genetic data covered the page, highlighted segments glowing like warning beacons. Harris adjusted his glasses, scanned the results once, twice, then grew pale beneath the fluorescent lights. Olivia stood, unable to sit any longer. "What does it say?" Harris didn't answer immediately. His fingers tightened around the paper. "Are they okay?" she pushed, voice cracking. "Are they even dogs?" Victoria inhaled sharply, preparing to deliver the blunt truth, but Holt shot her a warning glare. Even he understood Olivia needed the words gently. Dr. Harris finally spoke, his tone low, as if afraid the room itself was listening. "Their DNA contains sequences I can't identify." He lifted the paper toward the lamplight. "Segments that do not match any canine, any mammal, or anything in the genetic databases we have access to." Olivia felt her knees weaken. "Meaning?" Harris swallowed. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Meaning they don't fully belong to any known species." At that exact moment, the genetic analyzer emitted a sharp electronic chime. The screen lit up in a violent wash of red. "Alert!" Unreadable sequence blinked repeatedly across the display, bathing the room in a warning glow. Luna barked, a single alarmed cry that echoed through the lab, as if she too sensed a shift. The storm roared harder outside, but inside the clinic, something far more unsettling had just been born from silence. The storm outside had not eased. If anything, it had grown more vicious, as though nature itself was reacting to the revelations inside the clinic. Snow battered the windows in thick sheets, each gust slamming like a warning. But the true storm was gathering not beyond the walls, but around Olivia Parker herself. By midday, Aspen Ridge Animal Clinic no longer felt like a place for pets. It felt like a pressure cooker. The corridors echoed with hurried footsteps, hushed conversations, and the hum of machines struggling under constant use. But louder than that were the sounds from outside, muffled through the walls, yet unmistakable. Voices, engines, cameras clicking. The world had begun to converge on the clinic. The rumors spreading through Denver had ignited like wildfire. Someone in the waiting room had filmed the strange cry of the newborns earlier and posted it online. Within hours, the clip racked up thousands of views. Mutant pups, alien birth, dark shepherd litter. Every theory more absurd than the last, and every one of them pointed toward the same woman, Olivia Parker. a household name in Denver's elite circles, a woman who never sought attention, yet now could not escape it. Olivia stood in the central hallway, her red fur coat draped over her arm, her other hand gripping her vibrating phone. It hadn't stopped ringing for 30 minutes. Messages from colleagues, an assistant, even her attorney. She ignored all of them. Her focus was trapped in the small exam room behind her, where Luna lay pressed against the incubator, guarding her pups with a ferocity Olivia had never seen in her. Harris, Victoria, and Holt remained inside, arguing quietly about protocols, ethics, containment. A bead of cold sweat trickled down Olivia's spine. She felt the walls closing in around her. A group of people passed by, 3 unfamiliar men in dark uniforms. One was tall, pale, with a square jaw and hair shaved close to the scalp. His name tag read Coleman. His posture was rigid, his expression carved from stone. Men like him did not do compassion. They did enforcement. Coleman had spent years working for private biosecurity firms. Rumor said he once oversaw the seizure of an illegal research lab in Nevada, and ever since he had viewed every biological anomaly as a threat. He nodded stiffly to Harris before disappearing down the hall with his team. Olivia's stomach tightened. The world she knew, the safe world of business meetings, contracts, luxury dinners, had dissolved. What replaced it was a battlefield she wasn't trained to walk into. Beside her, a woman brushed past, slender, tall, elegant in a black wool coat, with snow melting in her raven hair. This was Marissa Lane, a journalist known across Colorado for her relentless pursuit of stories. She had sharp cheekbones, deep-set brown eyes, and a predatory grace about her. She never smiled unless she was about to expose something. "Miss Parker," Marissa said, her voice smooth as a scalpel. "Can you comment on the reports about the newborns? Are they dangerous? Are they really yours?" Olivia stepped back, her jaw tightening. "I have nothing to say." Marissa's eyes gleamed, hungry. She leaned in slightly. "Denver is watching. The nation might be next. People deserve to know if their safety is at risk." "The only risk," Olivia snapped, "is people like you making this worse." Marissa lifted an eyebrow, amused, then turned away, already texting someone. Olivia forced herself to keep breathing. She moved to the exam room door and peeked inside. Luna immediately looked up, tail thumping once, protectively curling her body tighter around the incubator. Her amber eyes gleamed with instinctive devotion. No matter what the world thought of the pups, Luna saw only her children. Fragile, trembling, desperately clinging to life. That truth pierced Olivia's heart deeper than any fear. Victoria approached her, pushing up her glasses with a shaky hand. "There's pressure building," she whispered. "The clinic director contacted state authorities. Someone leaked the data." Olivia's pulse spiked. "Leaked? What?" "X-rays. Preliminary DNA charts." Victoria swallowed. "And apparently, a photograph." "Of my pups?" Olivia's voice broke. "No. Of you." Olivia went still. Victoria lowered her voice further. The caption said, "Heiress hides unknown species inside Denver clinic." Outside, shouts grew louder. Footsteps stormed the entrance. Dr. Holt rushed in next, his beard bristling with frustration. "We need to move them," he said. "This place isn't secure anymore. There are too many eyes, too many unknowns." "Move them where?" Olivia demanded. Holt shook his head. "Anywhere but here." Olivia stared at him, at Luna, at the tiny black-furred newborns twitching beneath heated light. Her heart felt like it was being pulled apart by invisible hands. She knew what the scientists wanted: samples, containment, observation. She knew what the strangers in black uniforms wanted: control. And she knew what the media wanted: spectacle. But none of them wanted what Luna wanted: a chance for her children to simply live. A storm wind slammed against the windows, rattling the glass. Snow swirled thickly outside. Her phone buzzed again. A flash of clarity sliced through her fear, sharp and unmistakable. If she let them take the pups, they would never return. She felt it in her bones. In the same moment, headlights flared through the frosted front windows. A harsh white glow cut through the storm. Harris lifted his head toward the reception area, his expression darkening. Marissa peered over her shoulder. Sarah stepped out of a room, her face draining of color. Olivia turned toward the front doors just as the sound of engines rumbled through the walls. A line of black SUVs rolled to a stop outside the clinic. Their tinted windows reflected the swirling snow like dark mirrors. Headlights stabbed directly toward the hallway where Olivia stood, as if the world beyond the storm had finally found her. And it was not here to help. The black SUVs outside the clinic remained still for several minutes, engines idling, headlights slicing through the blizzard. For a moment, Olivia felt as if every breath might be her last peaceful one. But then, a small miracle cracked through the tension. Dr. Harris stepped out of the lab room, holding a folder in one hand and calm determination in his tired eyes. He motioned for Olivia to follow. She did, heart pounding, Luna padding anxiously at her heels. Inside the exam room, Victoria Hale and Dr. Holt stood rigid, the air heavy with anticipation. Harris placed the folder on the counter and spoke with the steadiness of a man who had finally found truth after hours of chaos. The final results are in. Olivia braced herself. Luna leaned against her leg. The pups, Harris continued, show no sign of disease, no infection, no pathogen. Their immune markers are unusually strong. Their metabolism is efficient. Their heart and lung function. He lifted a page and exhaled. Remarkably stable. Victoria pushed up her slipping glasses. The genetic anomalies we saw before don't indicate danger. They're unusual, yes, but not harmful. Dr. Holt nodded once, a stiff acknowledgement from a man who rarely softened. They are living beings, he added, not threats. Olivia felt something sharp inside her chest unravel. Her knees almost buckled from relief. Harris shut the folder gently. Whatever they are, they deserve to grow, not be dissected. And then he said the words that Olivia would remember for the rest of her life. Perhaps, instead of fearing them, we should let them live. Outside, shouts grew louder. Marissa Lane, the raven-haired journalist, was gathering a small army of cameras. Agent Coleman and his team were approaching the door with the slow precision of men accustomed to taking custody. Olivia felt the storm closing in again, but this time she wasn't helpless. Something fierce ignited in her. She straightened her posture, her voice strong. "I'm taking them home." Holt frowned. "They won't let you simply walk out." "Then I'll find another way." Olivia turned and strode down the hallway. She wasn't the uncertain woman who had walked into the clinic earlier. She moved like someone defending her family. She called her attorney, Samantha Reed, a sharp-minded woman in her early 30s, petite with straight chestnut hair, known in Denver courts for shredding corporate intimidation. Samantha's voice, steady and razor-sharp, sliced through Olivia's phone. "Send me everything. I'll shut this down from the legal side." Olivia hung up and entered the back corridor, where Sarah Whitmore stood guard. Sarah, tall, sandy blonde hair in her usual bun, hazel eyes full of worry, took one look at Luna and the pups, then nodded with silent understanding. She unlocked the employee garage door. "Go," she whispered, "before they push a warrant through." Olivia squeezed Sarah's hand. "Thank you. Just take care of them," the nurse murmured. "They never asked to be special." The wind howled as Olivia carried the heated carrier, Luna trotting faithfully beside her. They reached the underground garage, dim, echoing, smelling faintly of motor oil. Olivia loaded Luna and the pups into the SUV, heart hammering. She drove out through the back exit just moments before Coleman's team stormed the front entrance. Snow swallowed the vehicle as she sped away. Denver's glowing skyline faded behind her, replaced by the winding mountain road leading back to her glass-walled home. She entered via the underground garage, bypassing the main driveway swarmed with reporters. The second the doors closed behind her, silence embraced her like a promise. In her living room, the fireplace crackled warmly. Olivia set the pups on soft blankets near the hearth. Luna curled protectively around them, nose brushing each tiny body, tail thumping softly. The pups wobbled on their limbs, movements still odd, but undeniably playful. Their black coats gleamed under the firelight, like gemstones carved from night itself. Hours passed. Days passed. Weeks. The storm eventually left Denver, but Olivia's world found a new rhythm. A rhythm built on small paws, soft yips, and the constant presence of Luna, the steadfast mother who never questioned her children's differences. The pups grew quickly. Their eyes opened to reveal an intense, luminous intelligence, dark irises that seemed to take in more than ordinary life. Their reflexes sharpened. They could track movement instantly, tilt their heads as though deciphering human emotions, and follow Olivia with uncanny attentiveness. And strangely, beautifully, they adored her. Perhaps they sensed she had chosen them against the world. On a far later night, when winter still lingered but the worst storms had quieted, Olivia stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of her home. Snow drifted outside in slow, gentle swirls. Behind her, Luna slept soundly, 6 black-furred pups curled tightly around her like warm shadows. Olivia pressed a hand to the glass, her breath fogging the surface. She whispered softly, "Maybe the world won't understand you. But here, you're the miracle this winter brought me." In that moment, the fear that once threatened to tear her apart melted into something pure. Love, protection, and a family built not from sameness, but from devotion. A story that had begun with terror ended in warmth, hope, and the unbreakable bond between a mother, her protector, and the remarkable lives she sheltered. In the end, Olivia learned something the world often forgets: that miracles rarely arrive in shining light or thunderous revelation. Sometimes they come quietly, wrapped in black fur, carried on trembling paws, hidden inside the very moments we fear the most. And perhaps, just perhaps, they are whispers from God, reminding us that love can bloom in impossible places, that the extraordinary often begins where human understanding ends. As you go back to your own life, with its storms, its worries, its long nights, may you remember this: every day carries a small miracle, waiting for a heart brave enough to see it. May God bless you, guide you, and protect your home just as He protected Olivia's. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me who you're watching with. because miracles are always brighter when shared. And before you leave, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and spread this message of faith, hope, and loyalty. May God watch over you, just as He watched over Luna, Olivia, and the little ones born from winter's embrace.